like about that clock tower is it's got a clock face on each of the four sides, and every one of the clocks is slightly different. Oh, so boring to have clocks all the same. It's like one of those posh hotels, and they'll have clocks up, wouldn't it? London, New York, Paris, Tokyo, just telling you the time in different places. Shrewsbury, Telford, Ironbridge, and then for Wem, 1953. Where I went, I thought was brilliant. Much Wenlock. That's a brilliant place. That's where the Olympics was invented. And I thought, all right, yeah. And then I went there, and it's about 6 inches long. The 100 metres must have been 9 laps of the whole town. The discus went straight through someone's window. Oh, I like it there. There's no one here come all the way from there, is there? Is there? Oh, bless you, much Wenlock people. That's all of it's empty. Let's go and burgle it. I went on one of the riverboat cruises as well. Do you all go on them? You don't go on them? Why not? They're crap. Oh, I know they are. Beautiful, but in a beautiful way. You're lucky here with the river, because sometimes it floods, doesn't it? So sometimes you can go on a riverboat cruise through your own kitchen, which is... There's Ian here who very kindly took us on a riverboat cruise yesterday. It must be hugely popular, isn't it? Maybe not with these people.
It is very popular.
What's the most... Do you get annoying passengers? What are the hen parties?
No, they're all right, they are, because once they're drunk, they're quite amusing.
This place is so polite. The hen parties mostly sort of play bridge. What about when it floods? Does that get interesting?
It does, yeah. It makes the boat go a bit faster.
Now, something I would hope, anti-clock tower person, that you would agree that one of the most beautiful parts of the town may well be the Dingle Gardens. All agreed on that? In the quarry. This is where natural Shropshire beauty and Shrewsbury politeness, I said Shrewsbury then, didn't I? And Shrewsbury politeness combine. It's the only park I've ever been to where, to keep everything in order, there's a bouncer called Yanis. Do people know Yanis? I would imagine he must be Shrewsbury's most prominent Croatian security guard. He's a nightclub bouncer in the evening, and well, till things are shut. He's a nightclub bouncer in the evening. In the day, he's the security guard at the park, and does look like he'll say to anyone coming in, "You can't come in here looking at water lilies wearing trainers." I was talking to him, and he was very friendly, but he was distracted by a teenager while I was talking to her, and honestly, the conversation sort of went, "It's a beautiful park, a lovely flower bed. I particularly adore it. Yo, I pick up a crisp packet and put in the bin. In the bin, now, like a daffodils. I like a daffodil." And then he said, which is just brilliant in his accent, he went, "See that statue, Percy Thrower, he a lovely man." Because anyone can have statues of kings and generals, but here your most popular statue is of a gardener. Because Percy Thrower was the park superintendent here before presenting Gardener's World, and that's given him pretty much the same status in Shrewsbury as other bits of the world give to Nelson Mandela. This is one of the country's most prestigious public schools here, Shrewsbury School. It's a proper public school. It's not like one of those 15 grand a year cheap fake ones that leave you with only a 50-50 chance of ending up in therapy with a smack habit. This is a proper one. They play a game there called Eton Fives, right? The kids go on a run that they call a hunt, and the school website describes it like this. The first person to cross the finish line is said to have killed, and at the start of the school races, he goes to the front of the pack yelling, "Any hound who intends to kill, run hard, run well, and may the devil take the hindmost." I mean, any other school would keep this sort of stuff quiet. as evidence they're not well. These schools boast about it, and their brochures go, each term begins by tradition with Guantanamo Day, in which first years ride naked on a llama around the quadrangle and are waterboarded by a head boy dressed as Joanna Lumley. I looked at a discussion on the Mumsnet website about the school, and this was one bit of the discussion. On the open day, all the head went on about was Darwin, Darwin, Darwin. I said, well, Darwin's dead. Can we now discuss the school, please? And then the same person wrote, when I spoke to the head of maths about my son's maths ability, he was shocked as he'd never come across a child so gifted. People like that. Despite all that effort, though, of creating a posh school, the town ends up being more famous for making a crumbly cake. First made in the 1650s, apparently, in which case there's no point in going on about it, as the baker is dead. The radical poet, Coleridge, not averse himself to mind-altering substances, he lived here and he preached at the Unitarian Church. But the story of Shrewsbury says, during his time here, he may well have worked on his famous poem, Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner. And of course it is possible that he did that, I suppose. It's certainly probable that he preached his famous rhyme here, that went... I could sing praise for days and days to Lord God in his heaven, or instead get out of me head with glue by the River Severn. There's also a high level of debate here about how best to present the town. There's been a discussion, I see, about street entertainers in Shrewsbury. This was a typical comment on the discussion forum for Shrewsbury. After listening to people on the radio whinging about street entertainers in Shrewsbury, I'd say if you want somewhere soulless and sterile, instead you should go to Telford. I don't know how anyone can go to Telford from here when you think that the place is so sterile they do not even have a statue of Hercules in their park. Does anyone know why there is a statue of Hercules in the park? I mean, I'm not an expert on Greek mythology, but was Hercules said to be from Shrewsbury? Maybe he was, and the original story goes, the king of Argos instructed Hercules to carry out 12 mighty labours. First he ordered, you must build a mighty mechanical signal box. Now, is Stuart about? Hi, Stuart, all right. And Hercules, the statue of Hercules, was known by a different name for a while.
Yeah, he was Colin.
Why was Hercules called Colin, which I'm not sure was in the original?
The graffiti on the front said Colin in big red letters.
And it was just left there. But I think Shrewsbury should go for it, definitely. There's no point in being full of cathedrals and battle sites if you can't claim that everything happened here. The bloody Shrewsbury book claims that there was someone brought up here called Fulk Greville, who many believe was the real Shakespeare. And the evidence they offer is that he once claimed to have written Antony and Cleopatra, and, according to the book, he was reserved. So it's feasible that if he had written the plays, he wouldn't have wanted it to be known. That's pretty convincing, isn't it? And an even more prominent local figure was someone connected with the football club, because the old ground at Gay Meadow backed on to the river. So there was a man whose job it was to sit in the river in a coracle outside the ground, and if the ball came over, he had to row and fetch the ball. Oh, that'd wind up Marino. It's not fair, for we have to wait 20 minutes for the ball to come back from man who collecting coracle. And now ball is wet. So our player cannot head ball, for they are had hairstyled and will spoil a gel. Did anybody ever witness this happening?